Sure, thank you. Hi, Alireza. My name is Aaron AJ Navarro here from Mexico, from the media scene NT. It's a pleasure to talk to you about this powerful film. So tell me a little
Thank
bit
you, Aaron.
first. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me time.
No, thank you. So let's talk about this great film. And the first question I have for you, Alireza, is you dedicate this film, which you've said tons of times that it's very personal, to your sister. I would like to know about the reason why you dedicate it to her.
I have four sisters. Two of them, you see a little bit of them in the story. Of course, it's not exactly who they are. It's a fictional account of them. Um, I was the only son, and as the only son, I had a lot of privileges, which I wasn't aware of it. And only when I got older, I realized that uh, being a man gives you a lot of privileges that you're not aware of it, right? So by dedicating the film to my sisters, I'm just telling them that I acknowledge that our experiences were not the same. Even though we grew up in the same household, we had different upbringings. And I know how difficult it was for you, even though I cannot really feel what you went through it. But I know that I got the easier parts of it.
Thank you for that. I want to ask you also about the duality, these characters, which is Ali and Reza and Will. They're both part of your names, right? Like the division of it. And I think I love that part because they're like the two faces of the same character. And the game that you do it, I loved it when you play with those actors and it's just the same role, but it's a different face. So tell me a little bit about that construction and dynamic because I think it's fundamental for the film.
Well, we were making a double ganger film. And when I look at the history of double gangers, is that always one character imagines the other one, and then at some moment of the film, the audience learns through a series of flashbacks like Fight Club and I thought it's 2025. We don't need those kind of flashbacks. And one doesn't have to be the imagination of the other. Both can exist on the same plane with the same agency, with a destructive agency that, for example, Reza brings to the game. And that moment that we do the switch, I thought it would be a beautiful moment for the audience to step back a second and say, what happened? You know, that gives us a little bit of a space, of a critical space, a Brechtian point, basically, to think. Now you have to fight back your way to the film. It's too late to walk away, right? So you fight back, and that fighting back to be in the film again brings an investment, which is very interesting for me. And also, I'm a cinephile at heart. I want to create a little dent in cinema. I'm bored of your medium shot, my medium shot, your medium shot. That's boring. Let's go to places that the audience are completely surprised. Like they don't see this coming. And I think there are audience for this. There are audience who are smart or intelligent who want to be challenged.
Totally, and I think it works perfectly. Also, I want to talk about, for me, it was a very nice symbolism, this garden, because it's like the space when Ali tries to get his peace of mind with all the troubles he's facing. But then Reza comes in and it all blows up and it comes the change up. So tell me a little bit about those symbolisms, because I also think not only it talks about the space of mind, but also a little bit of what he's facing as a father. Like he can't
Yeah.
have children and everything like that. So
Mhm.
tell me a little bit about that.
Well, what I'm writing first, it has to make sense on the realistic sense. I'm not thinking in symbols. I'm not thinking in metaphors. First, it has to work. He needs a place. He has to go to a little garden. So we take it there, right? I think if you're honest enough, things slowly falls in place. And then all I do, I play the game of repetition, right? So, for example, I realize that water is an issue in the garden. Let's repeat it with Ali, quote unquote. His pipes have problems too. The house pipes have a problem too. And as long as you play this game of repetition, metaphors and symbols follow very organically. That's why they're not on the nose. They're part of, you can read it symbolically, but you also can look at it in a very, very realistic way. But ultimately, this movie is about generational trauma. Somebody has to step in and break the chain, you know, and that requires courage to look at yourself and say, maybe the narrative I have is not complete.
Totally. And also I want to talk about the title, The Things You Kill, because it's like very literal in a way for the ones that we watched the film. And the symbolism that sometimes you just said that you have to sacrifice some parts of yourself, of your life to get another aspects well. So tell me a little bit about that great message, because I think it's also blowing up at the end with the kind of a telltale heart of Edgar Allan Poe there, right?
To me, this film is about a man who have a simple narrative and basically a very masculine narrative, who is always in crisis. Like any masculinity, by definition, is masculinity in crisis. Then females step forward and tell their story. As soon as the stories come, our protagonist's story starts to crumble. The more narratives comes in, the more dysfunctional his narratives become. Reza comes in and tries so hard to hold on to that narrative, right? But it crumbles. So Ali finally has to accept that life is not that simple, that this mystery called life doesn't have simple answers. You have to live it, even though you don't fully comprehend it. And that's the point of coming of age, if you say, right? He is ready to face life after he has accepted that this narrative, you have to kill the narrative you have. This is story that you tell yourself, these lies you tell yourself, you have to kill them to open up space for a new story to emerge. And an incomplete story, and a complex story, a nuanced one.
Totally. And to wrap this up, I want to ask you one last question. I love also the fact of the translation concept that mentions the bridges, but also to, like you said, to kill, to get rid of. Tell me a little bit of that aspect, because as an Iranian Canadian, you have this, well, fact
Mhm.
that you live from far away from home, that your family has to travel. But also, there's a factor there about recording and making this film in Turkey, which is a country that you've been quite away
Mhm.
from. So tell me a little bit about the challenges or the ones that you faced by dealing with that concept.
Um, Translation for me is a way of a new understanding of the world. Any kind of translation is basically trying to understand the world with a new lens, which requires letting go of an old concept, an old narrative, killing that narrative in order to allow a new way of seeing to emerge. As an indigenous person in Iran who have lived in US and Canada and so many other countries, I've been always in between cultures, languages, borders, um, uh, and that has been a fascinating observation for me. How ideas, stories, narrative travel from one place to another. But at the end of this day, what remains is what makes us all human. Doesn't matter what language you speak, what nation you belong to, what country you live, what passport you have. You understand what it means to lose a mother, what it means to desire a child. These are what makes us human.
Totally. Well, Alireza, thank you for your time. Thank you for this interview. I really enjoyed the film, and I think it's a very, very powerful, as I said at the beginning. So thank you very
Thank
much
you so
for
much,
your
Aaron.
time.
Thank you so much for giving me the time on a Sunday. Appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
Muchas
It's a
gracias.
pleasure. Muchas gracias.